being a complete glutton for punishment, I've got another project in the workshop for another customer. This one's in for a mechanical overhaul, and it's a B-suffix. So you've actually seen this car before. This is the car that I did the engine swap on for Dave down in Bodmin. This is pretty much how he got to the car. So I've not done an awful lot with it since. He's fitted a brand new loom, but then has just decided he wants to get the car mechanically together. So basically get all the mechanics sorted out on it, repair and fit a pair of doors onto this thing, because these doors, they've been grip blasted back, but you can see the skins, they're not the best. They've had big holes drilled in them, etc, etc, etc. Far from destroyed. I shall negotiate with Dave to buy those off him. All the outer panels, rear loom, boot floor, sidey slideys, basically get it so it's watertight and it stops and it goes. Now, story behind this car is that an engineer owned this and did an incredible amount of restoration work on it. There is not a spot of rust in this body frame anywhere. It's a beautiful job. There's a little bit of something there. Anyway, we're digressing. It's absolutely beautiful. The body frame is as good as I have ever seen a restored kind of like, complete body frame. However, when the roof was worked on, I think they just used a flap disc to take the paint off the roof, because the roof is fucked. Bonnet's not too bad. It's a fairly good bonnet. Again, no rot around the inside corners. It's all in really nice shape. Now, the engineer, unfortunately, after doing all this work, passed away. His widow sent it to the scrap man. The scrap man decided this is too fucking good to break. So ended up lobbying it on eBay. Dave buys it off eBay and then discovers, and the V5 and everything comes through, that it was first registered on the day he was born. How about that? Destined to happen, really, wasn't it? So it is matching numbers. It's not got the original B-suffix engine in it, but it's got a very, very, very close engine to that original B-suffix. So it's a B-suffix V8 that's gone in there, and that's the one that I put in there. And it runs. Spews fuel all over the place, but that's part of the mechanical overhaul that I'm going to do here. Yeah, so it's a massive, massive, massive jigsaw puzzle. Now, one of the problems with massive, massive, massive jigsaw puzzles is until you finished it, you don't actually know if you've got a bit missing. And if you don't know how the pieces are supposed to go together, i.e. you haven't got the picture on the outside of the box, or you don't have it in your head exactly how the thing goes together, then, again, you could be wasting your time. So buying an unfinished or a part-finished restoration project is fraught with risk. However, Dave has brought it to me because it's what I do. I've had so many of these things apart now that, you could test me by picking 5 obscure pieces off a Range Rover Classic, and I'll tell you what they are. There'll be a challenge on this, I'm sure. We'll probably do an online challenge. Here, Richard, what is this? And I'm going to tell you, it's a toilet seat, for fuck's sake. I mean, for crying out loud. Now, the chassis has been galvanised. A bit of strobing off the light there. Dale's given me another light. That's nice, thank you, Dale. These tube lights that Dale gives me, they are really helpful, because basically you can divert them so that the light is not shining straight in your face, but gives you really good light across the engine bay. And all they are, sorry Dale, I got this one filthy already. All they are is, I believe they're LED tubes. Sorry, LED fixings that go down the inside. I'll probably take the screws off and have a look inside, but they're really useful. Anyway, back to the car. So this is more or less how we got it. I've taken the front hub off because it was on 4 wheels, 2 axles, no prop shafts, no nothing. Got boxes and boxes and boxes of bits. Tailgate could probably pop that dent out. But it has had a bit of a kicking over the years. So most of the panels have been shoed. I don't know whether that was original to the car or not, but even the wings, I mean, look. There's no rot along the top here. What the fuck? Anyway, so thank you to the scrapman in Manchester who decided that this was just far, far too good. I just said fart, didn't I? Too good to break. And, you know, deepest sympathies to the widow who lost her husband, whose pride and joy this was. But it's a beaut, really. So at the moment, as you can see, nothing is secured on this thing. So I'm just going to have to go around it a bit at a time, start securing things, getting things in the right place. There's the two doors that are going to go onto this car, this sort of bogey Kermit green colour. They're not bad, actually. I'm going to strip them down and get them in. There's a front wing, used front wing, that's going to go onto this side because we haven't got anything on there. And there is a brand new front wing as well, he's called. A brand new Land Rover front wing. And the brief really is to go around this car and assume nothing. Which is why I pulled the front hub apart. I pulled the front hub apart partly because the steering was awful. As soon as you disconnect the steering box, no roughness there at all. Steering box. Okay, I'm just going to do my trick here, standing on it and leaning on the output shaft. That is seized solid. Now, it actually looks quite good. When we took it off, I tipped it upside down. It's full of water. It's probably done it no favours at all, really. I've got other steering boxes I can lob on. And then the other thing I found was that when I jacked the front end, this is again the reason why I took the hubs apart. Oh, nice fan today. It's 34 degrees today. I love it. The other problem we had was that the hub was really very, very, very tight. So that at the moment, all that is doing is driving the diff. So I think the diff is a bit on the tight side. So I'm going to sort that out. Now it has all been, everything on this car has been restored. I don't know what these vented and grooved discs are for though. We're going to go back to standard discs on this thing. Because these early 6-bolt hubs, they don't have the right bolt fixings for the for the vented disc calipers. And there was a problem, same problems I had with this one. So these are Koki 5000. I'm going to go back to standard discs on there and rebuild it. But there's a problem with the diff, as you've seen. So I'm going to rebuild the hubs and get all of this sort of stuff out of the way, so that the hubs can go back on again. I've got a CV joint which looks like GKN original. Mileage, I don't know if it's genuine or not, 23,302. This thing's been off the road for decades. Absolute nut of decades. So this particular project then, so what am I doing? On top of the mechanical overhaul, key concerns I've got, and I need to put that in the container really. Key concerns I've got are the enormous, and I'm talking biblical amounts of end flow in the main shaft on the gearbox. So I need to sort that. The customer's really keen to have overdrive, which is useful because it's got a hole for the overdrive lever. That's always useful. Heater has been overhauled. Just check it, plumb it in. Engine is a runner. We gave it a compression check. It appeared to be okay. So I'll get the inlet manifold off because those carbs are just pissing fuel all over the place. They want cleaning. Inlet manifold off. Valley gasket out. Check the state of the cam, the followers. You can do that fairly easily. If I'm finding the followers are dished, then it's going to be front cover off. We'll replace the cam, replace the followers, replace the push rods, put it all back together again. But the engine does run, and as you see, it's a very original, nice early kind of features on it. It's got the early, for instance, the very early water pump without the thread on the end here. It's got the 4 bolts, the metal fan. It's a really nice, complete together car. Dave, you lucky bastard. I couldn't tell you if these wings were original. I'd have to get that off to find out. But looks like they are, because that has got no hole there and it's got these pieces built in. So I'm going to hazard a guess that this is the mother of all original, largely uninterfered with, fucked around with cars, because again, A-post, majority of the A-post here, okay, there's paint on it. You can see where there's something gone in there and something down there, but on the whole you can see it's just welded a fillet in down there. That's all. Sill probably been replaced, but then it's got round holes rather than the square holes. I don't know, you tell me. Back end here, B post again. It's had some repairs done to it. The wings and everything all come off. We'll find out. But yeah, nice car. So start with the front axle, work out what's going on there. Engine, gearbox, back axle, prop shafts have been rebuilt. They can go straight on it. Loom has all been done, apart from the body loom doesn't go to the back of the car. It's in one of the boxes. But there's enough of a loom in there that we can actually get things started up. I've got a proper 3-stroke wheel for it as well. Or Dave has. It's in my container. But yeah, nice. A nice Range Rover. This thing's obviously going back to be Tuscan blue. Now, the interesting thing here is Dave, sorry, to cover up the VIN plate, Dave is going to actually preserve the patina on this front panel. I'm actually in favour of that. Swivels. I pulled the old swivel pin out the front. This is the reason why I'm pulling this thing apart, because Dave wants this thing to be 100%. That's the old swivel pin, and it's got a massive ridge around the inside here. It's never going to be good. So, thank you very much for your service, Mr. Swivel Pin. New swivel pin going in. So I'll pop that in, and I just need to reset the preload on it. I've done it 1,000 times before. I don't need to show you how I'm doing it again. And I build this hub back up with new gaskets. I've got a CV joint that I'm going to clean up. It's in that Brit part box there. It's a used old stock GKN CV joint that came off this car. I'm going to rebuild it, put it back together again, get the other side apart, and then the diff's going to have to come out. Yes, quite an enjoyable way to spend a Sunday afternoon in 34 degrees of heat. I'll say coffee, lemonade. Oh, fucking diet lemonade, Richard, what the hell? It's probably why my teeth are so good. Yes, slowly building this thing up and just work my way around it. This kind of came in. Unfortunately, I had man flu last week, which is why I'm a bit husky today. So I lost 3 days last week. 4 days I lost, in fact. I slept for 2.5 of them. And so because of that, none of my projects have moved forwards. I need to do painting on this. I've got to paint the inside of the door so I can start assembling that. And I need this out of the way, and I need this out of the way, and then I've got the 1989 Vogue SE outside, which is still outside, waiting patiently. It's going to be a lot more overcast this week coming, so I'm going to get a load more work done on the Vogue SE. I'm going to get some paint done on this. So paint inside, work on Vogue SE outside. But today is this. Oh yes. I replaced the bearings as well. When I cleaned the tracks up, they're very used, very old swivel bearings. They're showing signs of distortion and signs of being shanked out. So I put a pair of new swivel bearings in. They've got a beautiful, fluid, non-notchy swivel feel now. New sweep seal. Haven't got any more sweep seal retainers, but that's a good used old stock one there. And now, I've of course replaced the seal in the end of the swivel ball, swivel chalice, whatever you want to call it. So there's a new seal gone in there. Tidy up this gasket face, put a new gasket on there. And then, unsure yet as to whether the axle needs to come off or not. So I shall build up the CV joint and seal this thing, because there's no reason why it doesn't need to be. So drive shaft can come through, CV joint can go on, and it can be stored, built up. CV joint, I pulled it apart because when I looked at the back, it wasn't a GKN original. So I thought, well, do you know what? Let's just have a quick look and see if we can see any issues with it at all. I've just more or less just finished giving it a good clean down, stripped it down. These are things, they're relatively easy to take apart, these things. I'm sure I've done a video on it before. But what I'm really looking for in this thing is any sort of forms of wear. So you've got these grooves here, and basically the ball needs to run in these grooves here. And I'm not picking up any, can't feel any wear. You can see it's used. You can see it's had some life to it, but there's no excessive wear on this thing. I think it's fairly new, this chap. fairly new. Now, when you take these things apart, you've got the cage, you've got the spider, I guess, whatever, and then you've got the actual housing, and then you've got the balls that sit in the middle of it for now. You'll notice on the cage that one hole on one end is bigger than the hole on the other end. Yeah? Bigger hole needs to point downwards. You'll notice on the spider, it's got this recess cut out in here. Okay, now that needs to go a specific way round, and I've got a feeling that that goes towards the outside, but I didn't note when I took it apart. You'll also note on the cage that some of these holes are wider, and that's how you get these two things together. Is you push it through the bigger of the two holes, Richard, moron. That was small, see? That was the bigger one. It goes in, and then it should drop into place. Once the cage has dropped down and into, I'm going to have to do this again, obviously, because it's not inside the body. I'm just showing you how these things fit together. Once that's all in, and then it folds around and it sits flat, then that goes in there like that. Are you with me? And on the underside, you can see that it's all bigger and flat, etc., etc., etc. Now, I think that this edge here is what the drive plate goes on to. Give me 1 second. Oh. Because it would make sense for the drive plate to go. No, it goes that way round. Sorry, it goes that way round. Drive goes into there. That's where the drive plate goes into, because obviously this bit, oh god, that's stuck, goes to the outside, and then the drive shaft goes onto this piece here. So, let's get the drive shaft. Because on the drive shaft, you'll have a good big spacer. You'll have this piece here, which is what sits against the inside of the stub axle. But that piece there, go on like that. Okay? So it does go that way round. So what we're effectively looking at, just to try and put some context around this, Richard, because I don't think that made any sense at all to anybody and nobody and everything. And I'm going home soon because it's 2:15 on a Sunday afternoon. It's about 7,000 degrees out there. And while it's nice and cool in here, thanks to Mr. Fan, it's not the most pleasant of days. So, get this thing apart again. Find the bigger end of the cage and wiggle it from side to side, and it comes out. There we are. Right, so now we put the cage back in here. When you're putting the cage in, again, use the big holes. And then it goes in, and it can only go around one way. Alright, so the way it goes in, oh my goodness, oh, fucking hell, Richard, it's in. Right, then we find the big slots, and we get spider, goes into the big slots, and then wiggle it backwards and forwards. Don't want to go in there. You're doing this wrong, Richard. Oh my goodness. Once it's all together, you see, then you can spin it around how you like. Oh, it's actually got in. Look at that fucking thing. Right. Once it's all in, you just continually work it exactly how you want it to go. You can't put the thing together until it's all actually oh fucking hell, Richard, you're just rambling, aren't you? Because it's hot and I'm bothered and I'm hungover because I had a lot of fun last night. My brother came over and my dad and my sister, and we just got absolutely slaughtered. Well, me and my brother did. No one else did. No one else thought they needed to. But I think I've actually put this in the wrong way round. Let's go this way round. Because I think my brain just isn't working today. Yes, that's better. And then it lines up. And then that is going to go in there in a second. It's going to go in. The problem I've got here is that it's a bit slippery. Now I'm pushing down on this, and I'll get the second of the spiders in. I'm just going to get a mallet. Oh my goodness. Or the wooden handle of a hammer. Come on, you bastard. It wants to go in, believe me, it does. So, first, and second, and it's in. Right, so now, just faffing around getting it together. It's in. Right, now, currently we've got the big hole at the top, and we've got the space for the drive shaft to go in, so we now need to rotate them over. So we've got the small hole at the top, and we've got the drive shaft element pointing out towards the back of the CV joint. Front CV joint, back of CV joint. So now this thing is orientated correctly. So we know that the cage can't escape out this way because this hole's smaller. We also know that the drive shaft will fit onto that piece. So then we start with the balls. So I really just want to rotate things around now that we're in the right orientation and pop balls into the cage. Click, working your way around. You want to have one of the long slots as being the last one, because otherwise you won't get the last ball in. That one's gone in, and then what you basically have to do is to tilt the inner cage right over as far as it will go. This is probably the most useless instruction video you've ever seen, believe me, on doing a CV joint, but if I can do it, any idiot can do it. Right, there's one there. That one's going there then. You just have to keep working around until you get to, you know, you can actually get a ball in there. And there he's in. No need to hammer them, no need to beat them, no need to shout at them, no need to swear at them. Just keep rotating around until you get it to a as you get to the last two, they do start getting tougher. Right, so that one is in. Now we've got the last one. So what I really want to do is to get it so this cage is as high as it will go. You have to in and then rotate that around. That's done. Okay, so that's the CV joint stripped back together, nice and tight. Now, I've got some lube here somewhere, CV joint lube, so I'll put that onto it. It's just a high melting point grease, and then I can put this CV back into the hub. So there's hub. Oops. CV joint goes in. Drive shaft needs to go in first. Move the coffee mug out of the way. Right, drive shaft goes in. We'll lube up the CV joint and that can go in. There's the glove axle. And then that should be nicely sealed up. What have I got here? CV lube. There we are, CV joint lube. It's messy shit, this stuff. You're just going to get wet and greasy and horrible, I'm afraid. Wear gloves if you want to, but I can't work on cars and wear gloves in this heat. I'm not complaining about the heat. I think the heat is fucking unbelievable. Love it. And there will be people out there that are going to be moaning like hell about it's too hot, but the humidity's down today, which is lovely. But, right, that's got that lot in there. Now what I really want to do is to articulate this thing around. And just force this CV grease into the cage and around the balls for now. Right. And then, cam white, CV joint, go on to drive shaft. Okay, nice and clean. CV joint and drive shaft, and will go. It's probably just not level. Level. See it now. There we are. Come on, you bastard. Get in there. Don't want to go in. It's because I've put all the... There we are. See. Right. CV joint onto drive shaft. In. And then stub axle. I need to clean it up, and I'll do that in a second and put a new gasket on it, but you see this bush on the inside here? That fits onto the nose of the CV joint and holds everything in place. So I'll get this cleaned up, lob it all together. If there's anything that's salvageable off this steering box, irritatingly, although it's quite a new ball joint on there, it's very tight, and also the gator's split, so I can change the gator. Check this though, right, so that's not moving. There's something gone catastrophically wrong inside this, but it looks beautiful. I don't understand. I'll get the drop arm off first of all, I think. Then I'm going to take the top cover off and investigate. It's easy enough to get it all apart, but yeah, Windy Gun undoes that. Then you need a bloody great big, and I'm not talking about it small, you need a bloody great big Pitman arm puller. Now this bastard here is one that was very, very, very generously donated to me. Thank you. And it is a thing of beauty. I got the adapters that go on the end there, that push on the ball on the centre there, but that will get that off. You mark my words. Didn't even need it. Undid the nut. And by the way, the nut here is a massive imperial size, but 33mm fits it. So if you can get yourself a 33mm impact socket, you're going to save yourself a fortune on trying to find the actual imperial socket. Excuse me. Now, all of that play may well have actually just been... No, it is actually the shaft. I can see the shaft moving as well. So before you kind of get in with your Pitman arm puller, it is worth sometimes just giving it a little tap. Anyway, it came straight off in my hands. Nothing's tight on this. I suspect what's happened here is this thing has just been knocked together. So I'm going to whiz the bolts off the top, get the top cover off. Put this back because I don't need this now. Churchill, look at that, it's a beauty. I mean, that is a thing of beauty. I do love Churchill tools. Very difficult to get hold of. Very, very, very difficult to get hold of, but I've got a number of things like the diff tool, all manner of stuff that I've managed to pick up. It's beautiful tools that were, they were all donated. Gifted. I am most grateful. It's never a good sign, is it, folks? It is never a good sign. So basically, undid the three big nuts on the top here. Use the adjuster to wind the adjuster down to pull the lid off. Now, you do the adjuster up until it's tight. Give the head of the adjuster a tap. Tap round the edges of the block. Wind the adjuster again. Tap round the edges of the block. Wind the adjuster again. Tap round the edges. And eventually it starts to come off. I think this thing's going to be fucking written off. Heaven alone knows how long the water has been in here. But I'm wagering some time. You can see now, just by winding the adjuster in, I can pull the lid off. It comes up and off the studs. What are we expecting when we get in here? What are we expecting? It's made a right mess of my workshop, I tell you now. Right, I should be able to pull that off, really. Let me put you back on the tripod. You can sit just there. Can you see? No. Can you see now? I think so. We're working here. Yes, you can. I'm not putting any real force into this, but this shouldn't be this difficult to come apart. The problem is the adjuster's still attached, so there's one adjuster right the way through. Oh my God. Everything's getting a bit tight. Ah, come on, you bastard. In he goes. Right, so just winding the adjuster nut right the way through the lid, and then the lid should come off. It's the way I've done these things in the past. And the adjuster nut is actually secured to the top end of the shaft, which is why I don't know why it's not moving, but we'll find out in a second, I tell you. There we go, lid comes off. Yeah, that's been swimming in water for some time, that. Look. I'm going to say that's fucked, but let's give it a clean out and see what happens.